Hello, everybody. This is Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Laura Peterson. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I have lots of great stuff to talk about today, and one of the first things that I want to get into is the stats. And at first, I was quite alarmed by the stats and just looking at them, basically that the single-family homes decreased to 226 that were sold from January 5th to January 11th. So I did go back a year ago and see where we were at then, because we were at like 330 for that week. So it's down about 100 is basically what it is. So that's just, for me, I was like going, okay, we've got to bump up the number of sales that are going on. Otherwise, the market's going to take a little bit of a tumble. The median price of single family homes was $408,000. That was actually an increase from the week before. And basically, the inventory also increased by 171, and now it's sitting at 7,508. So that's not really a big surprise when that happens, because at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of people that hold off and say, I'm going to wait until the beginning of the year to put their house on the market. So that's in regards to that. Of the 226 that sold, 27 were under 250. 24 between 250 and 300, 59 between 300 and 400, 39 between 400 and 500, 58 between 500 and a million, and over a million was 19. So basically where we're falling down here is between the 300 and 400 mark and between the 400 and 500 mark. That's usually been closer to 100 for each of those. And so we were at 59 between 300 and 400 and 39 between 400 and 500. So those obviously are the ones that are sitting with a lot of inventory. Because of the low number of houses that sold, it's showing our months of inventory at 7.67, which a few weeks ago before Christmas, it was showing that we were at I think it was right around 6. So it's almost up a month and a half based on the number of houses that are selling. So basically when we're looking at that, we just have to see if it's a trend, if it's a fluke, or what's going on. And so, the number of houses sold has gone down as time has gone down over the last year, but basically that's kind of where it's at and all of that kind of good stuff. The list to ask price ratio overall was at 96.59. I think that's because, again, those middle categories there where the majority of houses are generally sold are sold close to asking price or closer to asking price, and there's not as many there. So basically under 250 was at 96.53, 97.69, 250 to 300, which is not unusual either. Then it goes up to 97, 98, 97, and then over a million was at 94, which is pretty normal. So the list to ask price ratio is really important in those median price ranges, which is where most people are at. But basically when it comes to the when it comes to actually looking at what is going on in regards to those lower and higher ends, they're exactly where they should be. So when we're looking at that we're down 1% on that, you've got to look deeper, and it comes down to, again, that not as many houses are selling in that middle range or that median range, which is between 300 and 500 is kind of where we're at in regards to that. So when we're looking at condos, townhomes, and villas, they were at 78, which normally that's at about 100. The median price was at 260, which To me, that's great. So 260 versus 408 is kind of the difference between a condo and a home. And that inventory increased by 159 and takes it up to 3850. So it's usually quite a bit less in regards to the number of condos, townhomes, and villas. It's usually around 100. So having it be at 78 for a lower week at the beginning of the year is not too bad. So 78 total under 250, 35 of them were there, 15 between 250 and 300, 14 between 300 and 400, 8 between 400 and 500, 5 between 500 and a million, and 1 over a million. So again, when we're looking at that, basically what that comes down to is that again, it's that same price point that doesn't have as many as usual. That's really between 300 and 500. So that's the price point that's suffering right now. So if you're in that price point, that's something that I'd be, keeping an eye out. Again, it's 1 week. So we don't know for sure, but I'm just going to keep my eyes on it and find out. So, the 95.79 is what overall the list to ask price ratio was. Under 250, I don't know why my phone keeps ringing today. That's crazy. But under 250 is basically was at 95.72, 250 to 300, 97.49, 300 to 400 was 97.7. Then we went to 96.56, 95, and 93. So the months of inventory in condos based on these prices was 11.39, the quantity, I mean. And we're under 250, we've got 10 months. We've got 9 months between 250 and 300, 16 months between 300 and 400, 13 months between 400 and 500, 14 months between 500 and a million, and 4 months over a million. So not too many there. But basically, when we're looking at all of that, it just is really important that you price your property correctly, because the inventory right now is, high. So that might give you the opportunity as a buyer to obviously have more choices. So that's the first thing that you've got. The second thing is you might be able to make a lower offer or something like that. So basically, when it comes down to it, you want to make sure that you're doing, your homework when it comes down to that, whether you are a buyer or a seller. You want to make sure that you're absolutely, pricing it right, making the right offer, all of that kind of stuff. But as a buyer, like right now, you've got more choices, and you might even be able to get things at a little bit lower. So, I think things are going to be interesting to watch in the next upcoming months or so, and really anxious to see what's going on. You do have to realize that it is 30 days ago that these people, for the most part, went under contract. So if you're looking at that, then basically it comes down to that if it was 30 days ago and you're looking at almost, getting at the beginning of December, the first couple weeks of December when they were going under contract. And so that could be, part of it as well, because everybody's busy going to parties and getting together with people and a lot of activities that you want to do, get ready for the holidays. So all of that stuff adds up in regards to why the numbers are a little bit lower. So it'll be great to see next week in regards to what's going on with it, and we'll do a big comparison about it then. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and I'll be back after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I basically, was talking about the stats last segment, and basically what it comes down to is that when you're looking at stats, there's many ways to interpret them, obviously. And so it's really important, I think, to look at the big picture and not the little picture. So when we're looking at the what's going on with the week, I'm really looking at the trends, because you can't really tell just from a week of what's going on. And so that's really important for everybody to keep in mind. But looking at what's going on in a neighborhood, what's happening in a subdivision, in a school district, all of those kinds of things leave clues in regards to what's going on with the market. And so we just really want to make sure that we, go ahead and educate everybody in the best way that we can. One thing that I wanted to talk about today was the truth about credit scores and buying a home. The myth is that you need to have perfect credit. And basically, but the truth is you don't need perfect credit to become a homeowner. And we've got a thing where I found by loan type for recent home buyers. This is what their average buyer FICO credit score was for the home loan type. So overall, the credit score was 727. If for FHA loans, the average was 646. For USDA loans are 684. So let me explain a little bit what these loans are and that kind of thing as I'm going along too. So an FHA loan is a loan that's guaranteed by the government. And so if, so basically those are usually the where you need the least credit score on that. Now, there are people with a lot higher credit scores that also go with an FHA loan, and there's many reasons for that. And the reason is because they want to, it might be the best deal. It's like when a lender is shopping it, it still might be a better interest rate than it was for a conventional loan. So I still think you should look at it. The thing with FHA loans today is that several years ago, they passed a law that there's what they call, I think it's MIP or MPI, or I don't know. It's one of those things, but it's mortgage insurance for whoever is insuring the loan, and that is for the life of the loan. So your loan payment is always going to be a little bit higher there, than what the payment would be for the just the interest and the and paying back the principal. And that's on some conventional loans. That's on a lot of different loans if you're not putting 80% down. So you have to look. That's why when they're shopping, they're shopping loans and what kind that they think you should get, that you have to look at all of those situations to see what's basically the best deal for you. And maybe on this one, you have no mortgage insurance, and on this one you have $100 a month, and so when you're looking at that, it might make the difference, and that loan is better for you. Now, I've had people that had zero mortgage insurance on their loan that did have like 5% down, 3% down, or something like that, and the bank didn't require it. So it's always different, and the loans are always changing. So it's important to shop it. And a lot of times the lender that you're working with, they can shop it for everybody. But basically, so when you came down to it, an FHA is a government-backed one, 645, lowest credit score usually that you can get on that. Some people, you can go down even lower with a credit score on that. Like I've seen them that you could go to 500 on a credit score with an FHA loan. It just depends on the bank. But you might have to put more down, like they required you to put 10 or 15% down in order to get that. When it comes to, a USDA loan, that is backed by the United States Department of Agriculture. So a lot of times those properties need to be in an agricultural area. You'll find a lot of builders a lot of times can offer USDA loans because it was kind of nothing land, and now it all of a sudden is something. So they take advantage of that, and that credit score is 684 on average. So those are loans where you can put 100% down. There's not a lot in Orange County, but there are in the surrounding counties around us. Next is the VA loan, and the average credit score there was 692. VA loans are available to veterans, and those you can get up to 100% financing again on those, but you have to be a veteran, and they have what they call a certificate of eligibility that you can get, and when you have that, that entitles you to get a VA loan. And they used to be limited by an amount that you can get, but I've sold $1 million houses that actually had a VA loan. So basically the sky's the limit now when it comes to that. So if you are a veteran, thank you for your service, first of all, but second of all, if it might be a really good option for you to get as a veteran. And then we come to conventional. And conventional, the average score was 738. And so that's basically, what the deal is on that. And so that's the highest one that's on here. Well, there is another one on here. And this is called, I don't know what it is. Oh, the jumbo. I was trying to read it because it was a little bit light. Basically, the jumbo loan, that those people's credit scores were 768 and 768. And those are people, if you're getting a jumbo loan, then that's over what it is for the area, which I think our area is somewhere around 6 something before you get to the jumbo loan, maybe even 7. They change that amount every year, and I did see what the new amount is, but I don't remember 100% what it is. So when it comes down to it, the higher your credit score, usually the better the interest rate that you're going to have and all of those kinds of things. So it is important to do what you can to make it work best. There are simple tips to improve your credit score, and number one is to pay your bill on time. Like I mentioned a few weeks ago, I think that there was somebody that I was working with that had one car payment that was late. It was on automatic, and something happened that it didn't get to be on time, and they had to wait until it was a year after that happened in order to get a loan. So you definitely want to pay your bills on time. You want to pay down outstanding debt. They also are looking to see that you're not using all of the debt that you have available to you, and that's something that helps. And then if you are getting a loan, you do want to hold off on applying for new credit. That might seem like a quick way to boost your credit score. Too many applications in a short period of time have the opposite effect. So you want to focus on improving your existing accounts instead. So your credit score doesn't have to be perfect to qualify for a loan. And the best way is to know where you stand is to work with a trusted lender to explore your options. And we definitely have those people out there available, if you'd like to, to talk about it and look at it. And I think that, it's like when we're looking at it, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were asking me, do you think that the rental rates are going to go down because they're currently renting? And I'm like, I don't know. I think that what I've seen is I've seen the rental rates going down slightly, but what that slightly means going down is that it was going down, $20 a month, whereas several years ago, they went up $200 a month. So $20 reduction on a $2,000 or $2,200 rental. I mean, every little bit counts, but it's not a huge decrease. So if we do see rents decreasing, that's kind of what my prediction is that I see them going down very low, very slightly. So they might go down, but they might not go down a whole lot. So basically, I think that when it comes down to it, I think everybody needs to look at what's important to you, what you want to do when it comes to housing, and then make it happen. And really, as I've always said, look at it as what's your long-term goals? Where do you want to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and how do you get there and have a plan to do it? And we're absolutely here to help you do that when the time is right. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one question that I get a lot of times from sellers is, what do I need to do to get my house ready to go? And is staging important? And what do you have to do? And in this market, it is extremely important. There are times, and have been times, when it does not matter. It doesn't matter, because there's such a low inventory that people are just like, hey, I'll take anything and anything. I don't care if it needs work, doesn't need work, whatever. And the seller could put the house on the market and immediately sell it very quickly, and, no problems at all. So I think that's the first thing that you need to, look at and consider, and all of that kind of stuff, is what's going on in the market. But when it comes down to it, they have found that homes that are staged sell faster and sell for more money in general. And basically, it's the process of arranging and decorating your house to highlight its best features and make it as appealing as possible to buyers. It can range from simple touch-ups to more extensive setups, depending on your needs and your budget. So basically, studies show that good staging does have an impact on your sale. Staging your house well can help you attract more attention from buyers, which ultimately helps it sell faster and for a higher price than an unstaged home. So basically, their stats have shown that it sells 73% faster, and the offer prices can go up between 1% and 5% than it did if it wasn't staged. And so, but there's a lot of things that you can do yourself when it comes to staging, and we definitely help you with that. So the first thing that you want to do is declutter and depersonalize by removing, personal items. Now, if you've got a couple of pictures in the house, you don't have to change those. It's like people say that all the time. Oh, I've got to get rid of all my pictures. And I'm like, you've only got two. Have you ever been to a new home construction? And when you go in there and you look at what they've staged, they have pictures of people, they're just like an 8x10 or something like that that's sitting on the counter or whatever. They don't have like these big, huge pictures of the family, but they do have staged pictures in the house. So you don't want to take away everything. You want to make it look like somebody lives there. But one of the most important things, like if you've got like a big collection of something, then maybe you want to do something, you might want to declutter that. For example, my aunt was telling me that she, collects these Steiff bears or something. I think that's the name of them. And she has like 500 of them. And she has a whole room of those bears. That makes her happy. And she likes them and stuff like that. Now, she had that a couple of houses ago, and now she's, pared down and gotten rid of a lot of them. But basically, the bottom line is that if somebody goes into that house and they see that and they're like, oh my gosh, this whole room is just for those bears, and they might be thinking, wow, they would remember the house by the bears and maybe not remember the house for everything else that it had great to offer. And so that's what they mean by decluttering and depersonalizing. And also, it's really good if you take a picture of what what people see, because when you take a picture of it, you see things that you normally don't see because your eye kind of gets, I'll say nose blind, but it gets eye blind or whatever to what's going on. So you definitely don't want to do that. I'm looking right now at I'm doing a video of this as I'm talking, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, when I look at that, my bookshelves looked a little cluttered and all of that kind of good stuff. But at the same time, it's like they're bookshelves. You can tell they're bookshelves. So is it good or is it bad? But you definitely want to make sure that it looks nice and neat and all of that kind of stuff, which hopefully if you're watching this video, that's what you think is going on. But basically taking a picture of it and looking at it, you can get a good idea if it's cluttered or if it's not. But sometimes people don't see it, and that's why we say take a picture. And basically, the other thing that is really, really important is that you make sure that a room is that room. For example, when I lived in a high rise in Chicago, and I had didn't have that much room, and so as a result of that, the bedroom was also the exercise room, and it was the office and everything like that. And so before I went to sell it, I had to make the bedroom, and that was what people really wanted to see, is that they wanted to see it, that it was the bedroom. They didn't want to see that the space was so small that you had to have extra things all happening in the same area. And so basically that's what you want to make sure that that you do. And you want to arrange your furniture to improve the room's flow and make it feel bigger. And so, that's basically what it comes down to, is that you want to put the property at its best effort, and that's how you do it. You might want to add plants, move art, or rearrange other accessories and all of that kind of good stuff. But basically, when you're coming down to it and knowing what you have to do, you kind of want to look at market conditions. And right now, with there being extra inventory, your house has to shine. You want to look at your home's condition. You want to look at your budget and all of those kinds of things too. But staging your house properly can make it much more attractive to buyers, but it's not a one-size-fit-all solution, and every home shines differently. So what you want to do is that, we'll actually sit down and we'll meet with people to go over, okay, this is what we think would be a great thing for you to do. And we just kind of walk you through it and make sure that it all makes sense. And then we do all that. And it's a win-win situation all the way around. And so basically, if you're interested in talking about that, that's great. And one of the companies that we work with that I'm so excited about, that what they do is that if you do need to do like major renovations, like say that your house needs a new roof, and it's going to be harder to sell without it because people are going to have a hard time getting insurance, and they might be concerned about that. So what you can do is, there's a company that we have that they basically will come in and they will put on the new roof for you before you put the house on the market, and wait until closing to get paid. So don't let money be an obstacle for you, is what I'm trying to say. We have all kinds of solutions for all kinds of situations that people are in, to make it a win-win situation for you and your family, so that you can move on, so that you can do what you want to do in order to make the best situation for you and your family. And a lot of times people move because their house is too small, because it's too big. Whatever the situation is, maybe you want to have everything on one level. Maybe you want to have two levels. I know I was talking to a family, and they moved from a one-story kind of small house to a two-story, much bigger house. And they asked the kids, what's the thing that you like best about the house? And they're like, the stairs, which is really, pretty interesting when you're talking to different people. They're trying to get rid of stairs, whereas those kids were like, we love the stairs, and all that kind of good stuff. So it basically comes down to everybody getting what they want, knowing what they want to have. Maybe they want to move closer to somebody, closer to work, closer to a church, whatever. But basically the bottom line is that we want to make sure that you get exactly what you're looking for when you're looking for it. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. You can find us at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about a new year, new home, how to make it happen in 2025. We're still in January, although it's already halfway over. I can hardly believe it. But basically, when it comes down to it, everybody, I believe, can be in the home that they want to or on the way to there. If you're looking to, be on a lake or something like that, and it's your first home, and you're on a limited budget, that might not be where you're going to end up for your first home, but you can be in the stepping stones in order to get there and have a plan for maybe like 3 or 4 years that's where you want to be. But if you look at the rent calculators and all of that kind of good stuff to see if it makes sense for you to buy now versus continue to rent, most times it comes out that it's better to buy. Now, obviously, I'm a realtor, and but I do have all of those calculators that do go through for your specific situation if that's a good plan or what you want to do. But the first thing that you want to look at when it comes down to a new home or a property, it's like, why do you want to do this? And that helps you stay focused throughout the whole process. So it's really critical that you definitely are looking on that and sharing your motivation with the people that can help you, like myself being an agent that can help you get there, and all of those kinds of things that you want to make sure that that you're concentrating on those specific reasons of why it makes sense. The next thing that you want to do is you want to get clear on what you need. Must-haves and nice-to-haves makes the search a lot smoother. That's one of the things that we sit down and that we ask people when we first sit down with you. What are the things that must have on this house? Which a lot of people say that they want to have a fenced-in yard, or they want to have a place where they can, walk their pet or whatever, so it really comes down to different things for different people. And what are the nice to haves? What are the I don't want to haves? Some people are very opinionated when it comes to a pool. I do want a pool. I don't want a pool. I want a community pool. I don't want any pool at all. It comes down to that's one thing that is important for people around here. And another thing equally as important, I was mentioning the pets earlier in regards to having a fenced-in yard, but in many communities, there are regulations when it comes to the kind of pets that you can have. And so people are very interested in that, in knowing what they can and can't have, and if it's something that works for them or if it doesn't. Perhaps if you wanted to have chickens or something like that, maybe you can do that. Maybe you can't when it comes to purchasing a home. And I remember there was one a family that I was working with that wanted to sell their home, and the whole reason that they wanted to sell their home was because of the chickens. So they were actually in a homeowners association that did not allow chickens, but they had won some chickens from some kind of drawing or whatever, and they were so excited that they had these chickens, and the chickens actually grew up to be hens and everything. And so when I went to their house, their backyard was fenced in and nobody could see in it or anything like that. But I'm sure the neighbors heard the chickens, and they knew the neighbors heard the chickens. So they were concerned about it and wanted to, move to a place where they could have them legally, because those chickens were definitely running all around the backyard. They were beautiful, and they were giving them eggs and all of that kind of good stuff, but they weren't allowed, and they knew it, and they knew their time was on the wall, the timeline, so they wanted to make sure that they got it the way that they needed to. So, knowing your must-haves and nice-to-haves and don't wants and all of those kinds of things are really important. And affordability might be tight, so it's important to have a clear idea of your essential items up front. And maybe you can flex a little bit on location, or maybe, it might be a school district or something like that. But you want to focus on the homes that check the boxes that matter most while staying within your price range. I'm working with a couple right now, and they're trying to decide that. They have, we were looking at a home that was $700,000, that was only 1,200 square feet, in obviously a very nice neighborhood, and a neighborhood that they wanted to live in. And then We also were looking at another $700,000 house that was actually in a neighborhood that the house was 4 times the size of the small house. It actually had a pool. It was only a couple of years old, and it was in a gated community, but it was a little bit further out. And so basically, when it comes down to it, knowing your numbers, knowing what's important to you is really important. And then they're asking me, they're like, well, what do you think? Which area should we go for? And I said, that's really something that you guys have to decide. Is it something that for your lifestyle, that where are you going to be happiest? Are you going to want where you can walk around the streets and go to restaurants and stuff like that? In this particular subdivision, there is a restaurant in there. There's a grocery store that's maybe a half a mile away, and there's not a lot of other restaurants at the moment. The other one has 10 restaurants within a mile of where they were going to live, and you could walk there and all of that kind of good stuff. So I just said it really depends on your where you want to be. And we were actually out there looking at the one house, the house in the further out neighborhood. And we looked up, and I was like, is that an eagle or a hawk? And the husband said, it is a big hawk. And I mean, it had to be at least a 6 to 7 foot wingspan for sure. And so that's kind of where we were at. I mean, the house was beautiful. It was on a golf course. Like I said, it had all the bells and whistles and all of that kind of thing, versus that 1,200 square foot house that was completely different, that didn't have a pool, really didn't have much of a backyard. The only way to get to the side yard, because it was in a 0 lot line, was to go out the garage and in through the door, or around the house and stuff like that. There wasn't it was a fenced in area, but there wasn't an easy way to get to that fenced in area. And we had actually met one of the agents there that was representing it, and they said, oh, I didn't even know that this yard existed, and they had shown it to other people and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of funny, but basically, it's like you have a lot of choices when it comes down to it. So making and figuring out what that is. And the funnest thing for me is when I'm sitting down with people and they're discovering really what that is. And a lot of times, couples aren't talking about it together. They're just like, hey, we want this kind of house or whatever, but they're not talking about all those things. So when I'm sitting down and I'm asking them those questions, it takes them to that next level where they can actually decide and get exactly what they want. And they get it together, but they're discovering things about each other sometimes too, of, oh, I didn't know that you didn't like the kitchen like that or something, So it comes down being just smart in regards to deciding what you want to do, where you want to move to, and all of those kinds of things. And so, in my opinion, it's really important to have the right people that are working with you to make sure that you get absolutely everything that you want and need and all of that kind of good stuff. So I'm very happy to work with anybody or just consult with you, and it doesn't cost anything to talk to find out what's the best situation for you, if now's the time to buy or not, to set up your plans for within the next 3 months, 6 months, year, whatever it is. And if you are looking at new construction, many times there is a 6-month wait, for them. So you want to make sure that you're on top of it, that you know exactly, what you want, what the communities are, what specials they have going at any point in time might make you jump in faster and all of that kind of thing. They do have lower interest rates usually, and all of those kinds of things as well. So anyway, in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.